Good evening. Thank you for coming. It's great to see so many faces. Again, my name is Michael Costa, principal here at Stonewall High School. Before we get started, I did want to just let parents know that we do have interpreters here that can assist you. So again, for our students, if your parents are non-English speakers or their primary household language is not English, we do have interpreters here. Interpreters, can you raise your hand where you're located? So we have a vast array of interpreters here in the back. So again, if you need assistance with that, and again, some support, again, please reach out. Thank you.
I'm going to go ahead and continue on. It says you're almost there, and really you're kind of halfway is what it is. This is where it's wanting you to check your email and things, that way you can find that link. Are you all good? Parent section. It's encouraging to go ahead and get logged in and then use that FSA ID number to get in there. It looks exactly like the student portion. It's real important on this part so that it can identify who's doing the application, that specific parent is using their FSA ID number. They would create it the same way that the student did. This is where it's breaking it down, showing you what's been done so far. So if the parent hasn't done their part of the FAFSA, you should see something out there saying that it's ready to be completed. And then if it has been done, then it's also going to have that out there as well. This is what it looks like when you open up that invite. And it tells you the student this will need to complete their part. So if you have multiple students that you're doing it for, you're going to have different links. But it's going to take you through with the same FSA ID number. And just like with the student, look through here and make sure that everything's accurate, that it matches and looks like it's supposed to, that it's all current information. Because this is how it's going to identify you. And again, the parent has to consent to, just like the student did. It doesn't allow you to proceed without consent to have your information released. And when they say release, they mean to the Department of Ed. It asks for the demographics for the parents as well.
With a link for her to complete her section.
And then you'll want to select the marital status that applies to you. And also when selecting the marital status, it's wanting you to select the status that it is right now at the time of FAFSA completion. So even if you anticipate that something's going to change, you still want to put in there what it is currently right now.
Is your parent able to do it? It would be great if you could do it on her end.
Parent state of legal residence.
That number.
But the way that the FAFSA is now, sometimes this can be completely different. You might have one parent that's out of state, one parent in state. Now it's just letting you know that it's going into the financial portion where it's going to want to ask about your taxes. These are a lot of different unique things that may apply to you. If they do, you're going to want to select them here. ask if you received any kind of subsidies, different things like that, foreign income, SSI on there, SNAP, just various things for the household. Now it's asking whether or not the parent filed taxes. And it's going to ask the type of return that was filed, single, the household, married. Then it will work through the family size. And then if you have questions about that, let one of us know. And then it also has a little explanation on there too about what they consider to be the household size. So it'd be the student, and of course the parents, and then anybody else that's 50% or more reliant on the parent that's completing it as part of that household. Did you have questions?
That one, it gave us a specific date range, like if that secondary dependent is gonna be like filing for taxes throughout that time period. So, for example, they're a household of 4, but for that specific question, the answer would be 3 because that student does not fall within the date range. So instead of asking just household size, asking that specific date range. That makes sense.
It does, and it's my understanding that you need to go specifically by the verbiage, and whatever that date range is exactly what you put in there. And then if for some reason that did change later, and it impacted you financially or something, then that's when you would want to go to the financial aid administrators at that college, and then they would have a process to manually adjust it for you. Because yeah, anything that it's asking you is what the current status is now. Even if you know it's going to change later, it needs to be what it is right now. Unless it specifically states by a certain date, then you would look into that date range and go literally by whatever date that it has out there. Then it's going to ask more questions about the parent's return. And now it's getting it set up that way it can import it in from the IRS. It also wants to know any kind of parental assets that you disclose on there, and it's wanting to know child support receipt. They consider that as part of the income of the household. Other parents' information.
Let's get nice
And then again, now, just like with a student, it's wanting you to look through there, verify that everything's been filled out that you feel was supposed to be, look for any errors, and then you're getting ready to sign and submit. It's got a disclaimer for you to read, and again, you're submitting it to the Department of Ed for processing. And now it's going to say congratulations if it's successful. And then if that doesn't pop up, then typically it's going to have like a window or something stating exactly what was left out and what error is on there.
Okay, perfect. So
That way you can go back to it and get it, whatever's missing in there before you submit it.
and then the different schedule.
Does anybody have any errors before they submit? Or they have questions? No.
Did you already type in one of your
Oh. And this is what they were saying. saying it's going to give you an estimation of the financial aid that you're eligible for based on what you put on the FAFSA. That's not necessarily set in stone, but just based on all the information that you put in there at this time, assuming that it's 100% correct and it's not going to change at all, there's nothing else that's going to impact it later. This is what the Department of Ed says that you're going to be eligible for. And this is where it kind of breaks it down and explains exactly what that number means, the student aid index. And that's what your college financial aid office is going to use to determine what you're eligible for. Now it's going to give you information about each college that you put on there that's going to get your FAFSA. It's going to give you some disclosure information that the Department of Ed wants you to have about each school. That way you can decide maybe if there's cost relations or anything like that that you want to dig into, or if you're considered about some of the statistical rates and stuff involved with those colleges that your FAFSA is going to. And now it's going to give you some all-important information. And really, we've got people here that can help you if you have any questions about it. That way you don't have to sit there and suffer through all of that to see if you're, if you have any of those questions where it's off-board you from doing the FAFSA application. And then does anybody have questions? Does anybody need help? Okay. And then before you leave, they're also wanting you guys to check out. So they are going to want to have you check out before you leave. And then I hope everyone has submitted at least the student portion of the FAFSA before they leave. Because if you haven't, really that means you have a question and we're all here to help you. We don't want you to leave without getting at least the student portion done. That's it for what I was doing. Does anybody need help with their FAFSA?
Y'all say thank you again to Middle Georgia. Thank you so much for driving all this way.
Thank you.
Yep, I'm gonna keep walking around. Has anybody finished, like your total, like student side is done, parent side is done? A couple. Make sure before you leave, you fill out the, sorry, something back here. I have a checkout form. Please make sure you complete this checkout form before you go.
With the number, it's okay, you can still.
And that just helps us keep track of who submitted and who we need to follow up with later this week.
And then fill it out before you stop, saying.
But we'll be here.
You know.
We'll be here for a little while longer. So no rush, we got until 7:30. So we're gonna keep walking around, helping you guys out, making sure you got everything done, okay? Again, just raise your hand if you're stuck, if you need help, and we'll come find you. And if you're done, then you're done. Just make sure you check out with me. And thank you guys for coming. Appreciate it. Use the microphone. Microphone. Microphone, okay. All right, good evening, y'all. Thank you so much for coming to FAFSA night. This is the second one we've done. The first one was at McNair High School, so we were really thrilled to be able to bring it to Stone Mountain High School. My name is Amy Stokes. I work for College AIM. It's a community partner of DeKalb County Schools. We are in 5 different high schools in the county, supporting mostly seniors through their senior year and continuing to support seniors after they graduate, until they graduate from college. So we are thrilled that you guys came out. I'm excited to meet y'all if I haven't already. Just a couple of quick things. One, please make sure you have some kind of device, like a phone or a computer, so you can complete this online form. The FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid. Most students at this high school are eligible for something called the Pell Grant. When you do the FAFSA, it tells you if you're eligible for the Pell Grant, and it tells you how much money you are eligible to receive to help you pay for college, whether that's 4-year university, 2-year community college, or trade programs here in the state of Georgia or outside the state of Georgia. So this is a really important step for all seniors across the United States to take and to see if you're eligible for this funding. By the end of the night, we're going to have you guys check out before you leave. Please make sure before you leave you complete a checkout form that we'll have up here for y'all. And that'll help us record and make sure we know who completed their FAFSA form tonight and how much money you're eligible to receive, so we can help you with your financial aid worksheet, which is something we will do next semester with your students. Okay, so I'm going to bring up our lovely representatives from Middle Georgia State University. Can y'all give Middle Georgia State University a round of applause, please? They did all the way here from Middle Georgia State, and they're going to lead our presentation step by step. So again, if you haven't already, please log in. Students, log into your studentaid.gov account. And the rest of us will be walking around to help you guys out.
Good evening, I'm Cynthia Hopper. I'm a financial aid advisor at Middle Georgia State University, and I'm going to do my best to walk us through a FAFSA completion tonight. Please bear with me because it's new for me too, y'all. So I'm thinking what the game plan is that we're going to go through it step by step, and then if you all need some assistance as I go through it, just raise your hand so somebody can come around and help you out. So we're just going to get started here. It's my understanding that we're getting ready to do the new FAFSA that's available to you all, and that's going to be the 25-26 FAFSA. And that's where she said the studentaid.gov is where you're going to want to get started at with the login page. This is where you're going to put in the FSA ID number. And you can also use like the username if you have that generated as well, and then the password. That way you can get logged in. Is everybody to that point? This is where it's going to verify so that you can actually get logged into the account. You can use like your phone number and retrieve it, email address. And again, if I'm going too fast, just stop me. And hopefully everybody's already got to that point. This is the what it's going to look like for the dependent student. Most everyone in here is probably doing it in that way. It's going to be for the students that's doing it as dependent. It's going to have typically the parents' information and stuff in there. Once you get to this point right here, it's going to ask specifically who's doing the FAFSA. And this is where you're going to put in where you're either the parent that's completing the parent portion of the FAFSA for the dependent student or the student himself. Because there is going to be 2 separate applications, and it's going to link together at some point once it's all done on the Department of Ed's end. And please just raise your hand if you're not to this point, because this is going to be the initial start of it all. Okay, this is going to walk through the student completing their part of the FAFSA. And it's going to ask you to agree to consent And just know that if you don't consent, then it's gonna bounce you back. You do have to consent to be able to complete the FAFSA application. Then there's some general onboarding information that's out there since it's all new now. Okay, and again, it's on the student section. This is going to have all the information that's populated in there from when you first set up your FSA ID information. So what you're going to want to do at this part is just look at it and make sure that it's all still accurate and that it reflects what it's supposed to. Student state of legal residence. Most everyone's going to be Georgia State resident. For that right there, if you were born in the state of Georgia, legal resident of Georgia, you're going to put that date in there, your birthday. If you moved here from somewhere else, it's going to be the date that you were actually here for 12 months. Very small. Provide consent. Again, this is where you're providing consent for your information to be populated in there and be transferred to the Department of Ed. Does anybody need help at this point? Just raise your hand up and there's people available to help you. This goes into some personal circumstances, and on this point, it's going to be things that are unique, but you will want to look through those and see if any of those circumstances apply to you, because that's the point where it's going to separate you off towards a different plan where you're going to put in specific information to yourself if you fall into any of those groups. Speak up. Okay. Students' current marital status. That's where you're going to select your marital status, and again, that's where it's going to kind of direct you how the rest of the FAFSA is going to go for you. Student personal circumstance. School plans. This is where you're going to select how much college work you've got completed. And if you're unsure about what your answer would be for that, again, just get somebody to help you out. More special for circumstances. Again, these are all unique. So you're going to want to look through those and see if any of those apply to you so that you can select them. And if not, just skim through them and then proceed on. And does anybody have a question about the special circumstances? Because it seems that we usually always get some students that have questions about whether or not they fall into those groups. Okay, at this point, it's going to be a really unique circumstance, and that would be like if you could possibly be considered homeless or at risk of being homeless, then this is where you would indicate that. And again, if you have questions about whether or not that applies to you, just let one of us know and we can help you out. All these questions in the very beginning is where it's kind of identifying you on what track you're going to go in on the FAFSA and what all it's going to ask of you. And again, another unique circumstance. This is where it goes into dependency status. If you're considered a dependent student at this point, the Department of Ed is going to ask that you put in parental information. You don't have to, but we're always going to encourage you to put that in there, because if for some reason you select that you're not going to submit in parental information and you're still considered a dependent student, this is where it's going to prevent you from being eligible for the grant monies and stuff. So it's real important that you put that in there if possible, and if not, then again, you know, be prepared to have to go through some kind of appeal process or whatnot. This is where it breaks down whether or not it's considered to be a special circumstance or an unusual circumstance, which kind of sounds the same, but the Department of Ed specifies them to be different. And if you have any questions about if you fall into one of those groups, just raise your hand. Okay, now it's going into the point where you're going to be putting in the parental information. It's going to ask about your parents' marital status. And you're going to select the one that applies to you. And again, if you're unsure about it, let one of us know. I promise you we're very familiar with all the different scenarios, so. Okay, once you get to this point, it's asking you to invite your parent to complete their part of the FAFSA, where it's going to ask them their information. It's going to want some information from you for them so that it can send them an invite. Typically, it's going to go to them in the form of an email. And they would also have to have an FSA ID number to access all those things. Now it's going to student demographics. And it's going to go in and ask you information so that it can identify you. And also some personal information. Through that. Now it's going to ask you about your citizenship status. Now I feel like I'm going through it real fast, but a lot of this you may have already gone through, so if anybody needs help, just raise your hand. Parent education status. If you have a parent that was killed in the line of duty, it's an unusual circumstance. But you want to select that on there if it applies to your family. If you have any questions, just let us know. Student high school completion status. Okay. Now it's going to want to know the high school that you're graduating from. You're either going to want to look it up by the name, the town, and then if you happen to know the school code. And then it will look it up, and then you populate it in there, and that way you can continue on. Now it's going to confirm it. And then this is where it starts digging into the financial information. Okay. Is that right? Okay. Okay, initially it's just going to want to know the wage. That way it can determine whether or not it's going to go into whether or not you filed. It digs into some assets, so it's going to want you to put like how much money you have in the bank account currently, if you have any kind of assets or anything like that. You just do everything to the best of your knowledge. And if you have a question about something, just let us know. This is where you're going to select the colleges that you want your FAFSA application to go to. If you're considering a school, I would encourage you to go ahead and put it on now. That way you don't have to go back in there and add it on. And you're going to look it up in a similar fashion that you did the high school.
Hi. Okay.
And it will populate the school codes in there.
Did you file taxes?
And again, go ahead and put all the ones that you're thinking about going to, that you want that FAFSA application to go to. Because this is who's going to receive the FAFSA once this gets processed by the Department of Ed. And it also lets that school know that you're interested. That way they can start looking at you to see if there's something else that they need for you so that they can get your financial aid going.
This, you should leave it.
Okay, now it's going to want you to look through things and confirm that you didn't leave anything out and that everything that you did put on there applies to you.
Come back and add schools, but definitely put the schools that you already applied.
This is where it breaks down the parent contributors.
Okay, so we have,
So if it looks like maybe you should have had another parent on there or someone shouldn't have been indicated on there, then this is where you're going to want to address it at.
like I remember doing, so now I'm trying to see where this is at, which one, the tax exemption.
Excuse me, I'm going to back up too so I can point something out. It's also who all's going to get the invite. So you want to make sure that the parents that need to do their part of the FAFSA, they're on there. That way they can get that link sent to them so that they can do their part too. Because they're going to do theirs, you're going to do yours, and then it's going to link up on the Department of Ed's end. And then that's when they're going to process it and send it to the schools. And then finally, if you've made it through all that part, and it looks like maybe hopefully a lot of people have, that's when you're going to actually sign it. You're signing it electronically, and then that's when you're submitting it to the Department of Ed. And then now it's just confirming, and then this is where we get into the parents part. There's somebody in the back has his hand up, y'all.